So today we're going to go ahead and get started with chapters 6 and 7. I am going to start by reading pages 21 through 23, and then we're going to move forward in answering two questions. Chapter 6 is entitled The First Two Finders. The very next day, the first golden ticket was found. The finder was a boy called Augustus Gloop, and Mr. Bucket's evening newspaper carried a large picture of him on the front page. The picture showed a 9-year-old boy who was so enormously fat he looked as though he had been blown up with a powerful plump. Great flabby folds of fat bulged out from every part of his body, and his face was like a monstrous ball of dough with two small, greedy, crooty eyes peering out upon the world. The town in which Augustus Gloop lived, the newspaper said, had gone wild with the excitement over their hero. Flags were flying from all the windows. Children had been given a holiday from school, and a parade was being organized in honor of the famous youth. I just knew Augustus would find a golden ticket, his mother had told the newspaper man. He eats so many candy bars a day, it was almost impossible for him not to find one. Eating is his hobby, you know. That's all he's interested in. But still, that's better than being a hooligan and shooting off zip guns and things like that in his spare time, isn't it? And what I always say is he wouldn't go on eating like he does unless he needed nourishment, would he? It's all vitamins anyway. What a thrill it will be for him to visit Mr. Wonka's marvelous factory. We're just as proud as can be. What a revolting woman, said Grandma Josephine. And what a repulsive boy, said Grandma Georgina. Only 4 tickets left, said Grandma George. I wonder who'll get those. And now the whole country, indeed, the whole world, seems suddenly to be caught up in a mad candy buying spree. Everybody searching frantically for those precious remaining tickets. Fully grown women were seen in sweet shops buying 10 Wonka candy bars at a time, then tearing off the wrappers on the spot and peering eagerly underneath for a glint of golden paper. Children were taking hammers and smashing their piggy banks and running out to the shops with handfuls of money. In one city, a famous gangster robbed a bank of $5,000 and spent the whole lot of money on candy bars that same afternoon. And when the police entered his house to arrest him, they found him sitting on the floor amidst mountains of candy, ripping off the wrappers with the blade of a long dagger. In far off Russia, a woman named called Charlotte Ruse claimed to have found the second ticket, but it turned out to be a clever fake. In England, the famous scientist Professor Foulbody invented a machine which would tell you at once, without opening the wrapper of the candy bar, whether or not there was a golden ticket hidden underneath it. The machine had a mechanical arm that shot out with tremendous force and grabbed hold of anything that had the slightest bit of gold inside. For a moment, it looked like the answer for everything. But unfortunately, while the professor was showing off the machine to the public at the candy counter of a large department store, the mechanical arm shot out and made for a grab for the gold fillings in the back tooth of the Duchess, who was standing nearby. There was an ugly scene, and the machine was smashed by the crowd. All right, so let's look at our first question. What is the meaning of the word repulsive? So I want to go back in my text to find that word repulsive. And that was found right on the top of page 23. So I'm going to go ahead and begin reading. What a revolting woman, said Grandma Josephine. What a repulsive boy, said Grandma Georgina. So when I find that word repulsive, that was a word that was used by Grandma Georgina to describe the boy. So let's go back to look to see, well, what are the things that the text said specifically about the boy? So I have to go back to my previous page. So let's see how mom described him. It says, I knew that Augustus would find the golden ticket, his mother had told the newsrooms. Well, I'm going to track off to the side some of the things that it tells me. It says that he eats so many candy bars. That's one of the things that mom says, that it was so impossible for him not to find it. Eating was his hobby. So here I know one reason why the boy might be repulsive is because he eats so many candy bars in one day. It says eating is his hobby. So I'm going to go back up because they gave me some information about the boy in the first paragraph as well. So here they describe physically how he looked. The picture showed a 9-year-old boy who was enormously fat. So if I'm looking here, they tell me that this 9-year-old is enormously fat. So I can underline there. It says that he looked like something that had been blown up with a powerful pump. He had great folds in his flabby arms. So they're describing how fat he is. Fat bulged out of every part of his body. His face was like a monstrous ball of dough. He had small, greedy eyes that were peering out to the side. So all these words to describe him describes just how fat he is. He has fat that bulges. B-U-L. Fat that bulges. He has flabby folds. So now I want to look at my answer choices because here I have all these words that describe this boy. And so now let's see what goes along with the answers. A, gone wild with excitement over their hero. So remember, repulsive goes along with describing the boy. So it's not that he has a hero that we're talking about for Grandma Georgina. Grandma Georgina is going based off of how he looks. B, he needs his nourishment and his vitamins. Well, we know we are not getting our nourishment and our vitamins out of our chocolate candy. C, fat bulged out from every part of his body. So Grandma Georgina is talking about how he's repulsive, and we went back here and we made some annotations about how he eats candy bars all the time and how he has fat bulges, flabby arms. So let's look at our last answer choice. His mother is unkind. Well, she's not unkind because she's giving him all this candy and she says he needs it for his nourishment. So our best answer choice would go along with him having the fat bulges all over his body. So next was number 2. It says, what is the meaning of the word monstrous? So right here on the page that we're on now, that's one of the things that we underline. It says that his face was like a monstrous ball of dough. So we know that we use dough to help us to cook. And so if I'm cooking, say I'm making pizza and I'm using dough in order to make that pizza, I'm going to have a certain amount of dough in order to do that. All of these words that we have been using to describe Augustus is just to show me just how big and fat he is. They even give me a picture that shows me just how big Augustus is. So let's look at our answers. A, very sweet. No, his eyes face isn't very sweet. The next answer choice, very small. Well, we're looking at him right now, and we can tell Buddy has definitely been eating a couple of things. C, very dirty. No, we don't talk about whether or not he's clean or dirty, and I can't even really tell by the picture. And then the last answer choice is D, very large. Yes, I can tell by the picture and by the words that they used to describe him that he was a very large young man. Your job is to now read pages 23 through 29 and then answer the remainder of the questions. Do your best work.